Hello? Okay. Hi. This is really weird. I've never gone live before, but here we are. And so this is my little thing. I'm here on YouTube and I'm on Facebook. And yeah, welcome here. If anyone joins me, put it in the comments and let me know. I don't even know how that works, but we'll see. Let's get going. So I wanted to tell you today my story. So I was born in Calgary, Alberta. And when I was 5 years old, my parents moved to a farm outside of uh, Calgary to Airdrie. And my parents had a 10,000 square foot greenhouse at that point. They were in a partnership with someone else and they grew long English cucumbers and they brought them to the warehouse and they made a great living. So I was raised on a farm. I was raised on a vegetable farm. A few years later, they actually sold that place and they moved to another place. And oh, someone's here. Look at that. Anyways, this is pretty exciting. This is really weird, actually. Anyways, so they moved to a different we moved to a different farm outside of Airdrie, and they built a 26,000 square foot greenhouse, which is not little. So my parents were growing cucumbers, long English cucumbers, selling them to the warehouse, and that's how I was raised. I was raised working in the greenhouse, filling sawdust bags on my days off, and you know, doing all the things. And yeah, it was a great way to be raised. My parents would pick cucumbers on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. My dad would ship them to Calgary on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and it was just really good. Oh, my phone is buzzing and buzzing. This is really weird. Anyways, thanks for listening. This is just a little test here, so a little odd to be talking to myself here. But anyways, so yeah, my parents had that 36,000 square foot or 26,000 square foot greenhouse, and I had a great childhood growing up. I knew where my food came from. I was a farm girl. My grandparents had a dairy farm. I spent lots of time my summers on my grandparents' dairy farm. That was really cool as well. I used to love getting up in the mornings and milking cows with my uncle John and milking cows in the evenings. And there's a few more people here. This is kind of fun. I love it. Yeah, so I'm a farm girl at heart. Um, is there chats here? I don't know. Oh, good afternoon. I got people. There's messages. This is really sweet, actually. Um, yeah, I feel so thankful that you're here. Uh, Yeah, this is really cool. Anyways, so my parents had the greenhouse by Airdrie, long English cucumbers to the warehouse. I grew up with it. Lisa, who's on the chat, she actually grew up with my family as well. So I think she's probably even been to my parents' old place. And in 2006, my parents sold. Oh, my little stand fell down. Look at that. This is impromptu stuff here. In 2006, I'm gonna have to fix that if I do this again. I'm hoping to do this every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And what I'm really actually hoping is that, oh, Joan from Nova Scotia, I love it. Thank you. Anyway, so what I'm hoping to do is I'm hoping to go live actually. Oh, and from Saskatchewan. Now I'm getting off topic of what I'm talking about. I'm just so enamored by this chat here. Anyways, I'm hoping to go live every Saturday morning and just chat with people and answer questions and have conversations about things that really matter. Food and farming mean the most to me. So, okay, so I'll get back to my story. So in 2006, my parents actually sold their greenhouse and we built our greenhouse east of Didsbury. And so we built a 36,000 square foot greenhouse. And yeah, we were growing long English cucumbers and sending them right to the warehouse. So 36,000 square feet is not actually a real big greenhouse. It's like, so if you're from Saskatchewan or if you're a grain farmer, it's like having a quarter section of land. So a quarter section is not actually a very big farm. And so we were trying to make this wholesale thing work, selling to the warehouse. And your dollars on a dozen cucumbers are really thin. Your profit on a dozen cucumbers. So back in the day, my parents were selling cucumbers for 10 or for $7 a dozen. Back when we started, it was still $7 a dozen, but we had this big mortgage. I think our mortgage was like $700,000 or something like that. And so we're trying to make this wholesale thing work, and it just was not working. It was the pencils and the tic tactician was not penciling out, and so we ended up. pulling out, or we ended up slowly switching over to going to farmers markets. So I remember I started at my first farmers market. It was in Olds, Alberta, and I brought some long English cucumbers there, and it it was pretty cool because I was selling them for like 50 cents a piece. It was the ugly ones, and people would give me money for my cucumbers, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really cool." And so I was undercharging, but it was really neat to meet customers. And this is one thing. If you've ever met me, I love people more than I love life itself. I really, really, really love people, and so I built connections and I built relationships. A little later on in that summer, I had a few tomato plants. And so we would sell a few tomatoes, and people were like, "Oh, we really like your tomatoes." So what did we do the next year? We grew more tomatoes. And so then I was going to the farmer's market with cucumbers and tomatoes, and I added another farmer's market to it. And so and eventually we grew some peppers as well. So I was going to a couple of farmer's markets. And the more I did farmers markets, the less we sold to wholesale. And then we started selling direct to the grocery store. So back to the $7 a dozen. So this is really unscripted. If you have questions, put it in the chat too. But and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm slightly nervous right now. Anyways, so when we would sell cucumbers to the wholesaler, they were $7 a dozen. When we sold them to the grocery store, they were $12 a dozen. And when we sold them to the customer, it was, that 18 to $24 a dozen eventually. And so we figured out that there was more margin going direct to the customer and running out of sorry, I'm just distracted. And direct to the customer. And now I'm really nervous. This is really embarrassing. So we were selling direct to the customer and getting more money for our vegetables. And so yeah, so we've started doing more and more and more farmers markets. And Thank you for the thank you for the kind words. Oh, my tomatoes were like candy. I love that. Thank you. Honestly, I miss the customers the most. I miss being at the farmers market the most. I totally miss being at the farmers markets. I miss hugging people. And when I sold the farm, people were like crying and hugging me and stuff like that. So I did more and more farmers markets, less and less grocery stores. The bureaucracy, that's where it's at. The bureaucracy killed my farm. So we pulled out of we pulled out of sorry, I had someone trying to call me. We pulled out of farmers markets, and uh we pulled out of farmers markets, and we were doing more and more to the consumer. And so the bureaucracy at the farmers markets were really quite I'm just yeah. Anyways, I think I'm missing a meeting. So I'll just wrap it up real quick here because this is my first time and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and I'm really distracted now by my phone. Sorry, guys. Anyways, so we pulled out of we pulled out of grocery stores, and we pulled out of the warehouse because the bureaucracy was just more and more and more and more. They wanted Canada Gap certification to be able to sell to 3 local grocery stores, and it was only a $30,000 contract that we had. We were only selling about $30,000 worth of vegetables direct to consumer, and or direct to the grocery stores. And the bureaucracy in the pages of Canada Gap certification was going to cost us about $7,000 to get, which is insane, totally insane to get. So we just said, fine, we're not going to go to farmers markets. No, I wasn't at Valley Greens last night. I'm not sure what that is. I was actually at a church last night, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, so we pulled out of the grocery store, we pulled out of the warehouse, and we was just going direct to consumer at farmers markets. And I was doing a seven figure a year business. Like, I was selling over 7 figures in vegetables at farmers markets by the time I was done. I'll back it up here actually a little bit. When we were going to farmers markets, we went with cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and lettuce. And then eventually we were selling, we looked out the window, and I saw the garden, and I thought, or the field crop. And I thought, man, if we just grow a garden, we'll have more vegetables. And so We started selling, we did 1 acre of vegetable farming. And so we did potatoes, carrots, onions, beets, and all the things like that. So we started with 1 acre of garden. And my ex mother in law at that point, she looked out the window and she said, "Wow, that's a lot of garden." She said that to my ex husband. She said, what are you going to do if it doesn't work?" And he said, "No, no, no, mom. What is she, meaning me, going to do next year if it does work?" And I went from 1 acre to 3 acres to 7 acres to 10 acres to 20 acres. And so just more and more and more garden, more and more vegetables. I'm a tenacious woman. I wanted to, feed the world. And maybe I'll just leave it with this last little story here. Um, During COVID, so selling to all the customers. And during COVID, I actually had people come to me, and thank you for the love on here on Facebook. I'm really actually enjoying this, even though I'm so nervous and I'm like shaking and distracted. So I'm going to put my phone on silent next time. I'm learning. I'm learning. This is my first one, and thank you for your patience with me. Anyway, so and now I lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. Distracted again. Um I lost my train of thought. I don't even remember what I was talking about. This is quite embarrassing. I hope not too many people are listening because I guess there's 21 of you that are seeing me really embarrassed right now. Oh yeah, during COVID, people were coming up to me and they were saying, "You have food, right?" Because when we had those COVID passports and all the things going down with COVID, when we saw the toilet paper wars, people were coming to me and they were saying, "You have food, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got food." "Oh, thank you, Debbie. You have food, right?" And I said, "Yes, I have food. Come to my farm. I will feed you." And so I'll just leave you with this last thought. I feel a little bit like the boy who cried wolf. I've been saying for 10 years now that or over 10 years now, that he who controls the food controls the people. And as we've seen our grocery system get bigger and bigger and bigger, we there's more and more controls and things in place, and we're being removed further and further from the farm. I was able to spend time on my grandparents' dairy farm, which I'm so thankful for, but lots of kids don't have that opportunity. And so, yeah, we need to get back to our roots. We need to get back to our food, and we need to get back to where our food comes from, because yeah, the big system is if they can control the food, they can control the people. And so yeah, little boy that cried wolf, I've been calling it out for a while. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry that this was like discombobulated and like crazy, and I lost my train of thought and my phone was going off and the things were going. I might even just delete this one, but thank you to everyone that listened to me. And aw, thank you. I'm trying. It's a little bit discombobulated here. So just we'll catch the replay. Beautiful. Aw, thank you. Just running out the door. Slow roll for the farmers protest on the CFIA. We roll every Saturday here in Canada. We will until we see much needed changes. Yeah, I've been calling out the CFIA for a while. So thanks for doing that. We need less bureaucracy. We'll leave it with that. We need less bureaucracy and more farm to table. So thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Daniel. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.